Happy Monday, everybody. Happy first day of school for all you kids and parents out there. And welcome to the Sunshine State's only true sports talk radio show where we focus on the teams and the topics important to you, the sports fan in Florida. We are Game On with Bianchi and Kravitz. I am Bianchi, Mike Bianchi, the Bulldog. I'm the sports columnist of the Orlando Sentinel. That man right over there is Kravitz, Brandon Kravitz. The hardest working man in sports media, the prodigy of production, primetime Jaden Grimes. He's the executive producer, the man who makes us sound so beautiful each and every day. We are coming to you live from Orlando, from Jacksonville, from Tallahassee, and all points in between on the iHeart Radio app and the YouTube machine. And we want to hear from you throughout the course of the show. It is a meltdown, mood check Monday, and we want to know what is.
You know what really grinds my gears?
We want to know what's grinding your gears today. Kravitz has a few things on his mind, what's grinding his gears. We'll get his thoughts later. It's also a Champs and Chumps Monday, so we want to know your champs and chumps from the sports weekend. You can do that in two ways. You can text us on the Mills Air text line. That's 50857. Or if you dare, you can put on your big boy britches and step into the Rage Cage. Kravitz, was it first day of school for little Owen today?
Yes, it is. I am doing the show from home, so I'll have a good first read coming up in the next few minutes of how it went. But first grade, much like his pops, graduated kindergarten. I couldn't be more proud of little Owen. So we'll see how the first day went. His teacher seems cool, and yeah, I'm excited.
Ah, yes. All right, we want to hear from you throughout the course of the show. You know what to do, but right now we're going to do something. We're going to get to some highlights and some headlines. Indianapolis Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson, the former Florida Gator star, says he is now content to battle Riley Leonard for the backup quarterback spot behind Daniel Jones. This is certainly not what Richardson or the Colts envisioned as the former Florida star enters his fourth pro season. Richardson actually requested and received permission to find a trade partner during the offseason, but nothing ever came to fruition, which means nobody wanted to trade for Anthony Richardson. At least they didn't want to give up anything of value for Anthony Richardson. Overreaction on an overreaction Monday, Kravitz. Anthony Richardson will never start another game in the NFL as a regular starter. Maybe he'll be a backup somewhere and somebody will get hurt, but he'll never be a regular starter in the NFL again.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The guy just is a victim of his own draft slot. We'll start with that. He never should have been the fourth overall pick, and this is not me using the benefit of hindsight. I said that at the time. I think a lot of people agreed. It was a slingshot to the moon for some upside. But if you can't complete passes in college, you don't just get to the NFL and magically gain that ability. So it was always a bad idea. And then on top of it, it seems like he's got work ethic issues, attitude issues. You know, he checked himself out of a game. And you have to be so lights out in changing your ways to where other people are going to believe in you and give you that chance. And it doesn't seem like, based on what I'm reading out of Indianapolis Colts training camp, it doesn't seem like he's doing that. So this is probably the end of the road for him.
Overreaction, too. Those who say Anthony Richardson should switch positions because he is so big and so fast are delusional. He's too soft and too injury prone to play another position.
No, I think he could be a punter. I don't know. I've never seen him kick, but maybe he could. If he's soft, they don't let you touch the punter. So maybe he's got and he'd be great on the fake punts too. So maybe there's an option there. But I agree. What are you going to put this guy at running back? He doesn't like getting hit.
Right. Sad news in the NBA yesterday. Don Nelson, the second winningest coach in league history, who won 5 championships as a player with the Boston Celtics, died. He was 86 years old. Nelson's family confirmed the death in a statement that did not say where he died or provide a cause. Nelson is one of 2 coaches in NBA history to have at least 250 wins with 3 different franchises, Milwaukee, Dallas, and Golden State. He also served as general manager for all 3 of those franchises. He was a 3-time coach of the year, made the playoffs 18 times in 31 seasons. He went to the conference finals 3 times with the Bucks and once with the Mavericks, never won a title. Nelson did, though, he introduced what is now known as the point forward in the NBA, and his up-tempo style of offense was a precursor of what we're seeing in today's NBA. Kravitz overreaction. Don Nelson is proof positive that great coaches don't always win championships.
Oh, absolutely. Don Nelson is a pioneer in the sport, and championships are great, but I think perhaps the greatest thing you can have in coaching is impact, and then you hope to win championships along the way. And not only impact on the players that you're coaching, but also impact in the sport. And I think he was ahead of his time in a lot of ways. This is a guy that helped to draft Dirk Nowitzki, who is a very different type of player. The Euro was not as popular when Dirk Nowitzki was initially drafted, and that unique style. And he also was the first coach of Steph Curry in the NBA, who revolutionized the NBA as well, and he credits Don Nelson for helping him do that. So this is a guy that is one of the all-time greats, and that's not overreaction or hyperbole to say that. One of the all-time greats in the sport.
By the way, Don Nelson bought a bunch of land in Hawaii throughout his life, and when he retired, he was asked what he was going to do in retirement in Hawaii, and here's what he said.
Each of you talk briefly about what you've been doing after basketball. Coach, I know you live in Hawaii, right? So.
Yeah, I've been smoking some pot, actually.
It's legal now.
Yeah, but I never smoked when I played or coached, so it's new to me. But anyway, I'm doing that, and I'm having a pretty good time. It's more legal now than it's ever been, and so I'm enjoying that.
Smoking a little weed over there.
What are you up to? I'm just smoking weed.
Little that Maui Wowie over there. That's strong stuff. Yeah.
I like how last week we were having the conversation, I'm not sure that you want to retire because what happens to your brain if you're not working anymore and you're not striving towards anything. Whatever. Yeah. Don Nelson retired, started smoking weed. He lived till his late 80s. So yeah, maybe that's the way to go.
I want some of that Maui Wowie he's been smoking, all right, or he was smoking. Speaking of retirement, veteran quarterback Teddy Bridgewater has retired again from football, leaving the Detroit Lions without a veteran backup for Jared Goff. The Lions then went out and signed veteran quarterback Joshua Dobbs in the wake of Bridgewater's second retirement from the game. Overreaction. If there were a Mount Rushmore for backup quarterbacks, Kravitz, you would have Teddy Bridgewater right there front and center on your Mount Rushmore.
I don't think I could. Teddy Bridgewater had some decent days in the NFL, but his best days, if I recall, were as a starter, not as somebody who came in replacement of a starting quarterback. So I don't think I would have.
What about when he came in and replaced Drew Brees with the Saints, and they went 5-0 with Teddy Bridgewater at the helm?
That was good. That was good. But if we're talking about Rushmore, I mean, we've got some all-time great backup quarterbacks. Nick Foles, ever height of him. What he did with the Philadelphia Eagles. Ryan Fitzpatrick, who did that. I mean, he came in just gunslinging. How many different teams did he play for? Like 20? Doug Flutie. Yeah. Doug Flutie, one of the great all-time backups. And then the best ever is Steve Young. He backed up Joe Montana. So, yeah, that's my Mount Rushmore.
Ever. I would go way back and say the best ever was Earl Morrall, who led the Miami Dolphins to an undefeated season in replacing Bob Greasy.
I think you're right. I think I was a little bit too short-sighted with my list. Also, great Baltimore Colt back in the day.
Absolutely, and had a great crew cut as well. All right, those are your highlights in your headline.
Up next, a league that cannot avoid the drama has found it once again. Bianchi and I discuss the ins and outs of that story on the way next.
Game on with Bianchi and Kravitz. We'll be right back.
My God.
You gotta love the WNBA. They continue to make national headlines for things that really have nothing to do with the quality of basketball in the league. The latest controversy involves Dejanay Carrington of the Chicago Sky, who was ejected Saturday after being called for a flagrant 2 foul on Sophie Cunningham of the Indiana Fever. Do we have Primetime? I forgot to ask you. Do we have the play-by-play of that play? Do we have the actual? Here it is.
Here's Cunningham up ahead of the field, weighs it in, plus the foul, and then Cunningham gets into the face of Dejanay Carrington right away in the aftermath. And Cunningham has to be separated as both teams will head to their benches.
Sophie Cunningham comes down, gets her right across the face, coming down trying to prevent the layup, but that is just a hard hit. That's definitely going to be upgraded, I think, to a flagrant too, Ryan.
I think that is going to be a flagrant too.
So, controversial play. Well, it became much more controversial right after the game when Carrington went on social media and posted the words, quote, white privilege, and tagged the Indiana Fever. Cunningham, who was white, was shooting on that fast break layup. Carrington, who was black, came from behind and, yeah, knocked her in the head. Some people called it a clothesline. It was a hard foul. I don't know if it was intentional, but it was certainly a hard foul and deserved a flagrant too. And Cunningham said she thought absolutely it was intentional and may have centered around her recent comments in which she voiced her support for barring transgender girls and women from girls and women's sports. We all know that was the controversy last week. Kravitz, as you might expect, all right, this was covered vastly differently depending on the media outlet, all right? So a day later, WNBA Countdown on ESPN, the panel never mentioned the white privilege comment on social media. Never mentioned it, all right? And one of the analysts, I think it was Andrea Carter, essentially said, hey, hard fouls are essentially how Dejanay Carrington plays. Listen.
These are plays we've seen from Dejanay, right? So getting in the right position, jumping over the top, getting these transition blocks. She's always going to make that effort. So even for some of these, she's behind the offensive player coming over the top. So again, she was behind Sophie Cunningham. She wasn't able to get over the top. Had she got over the top and made that play, we wouldn't have been talking about it. She was too far behind the play. The contact above the head was too much. But that's what Dejanay Carrington does. Yeah. Like, it's not, this wasn't to me, this wasn't because it was Sophie Cunningham making the layup.
Okay. So that's WNBA Countdown. Never mentioned the white privilege comment afterwards. Don't ask me why. I mean, that became the story that everybody was talking about. Meanwhile, this became a major topic on Fox News with Riley Gaines, the former collegiate swimmer who has become a Fox News sort of spokesperson for transgenders competing in women's sports, anti-transgenders competing in women's sports. Here's Gaines talking about Carrington claiming white privilege.
I would actually say that this is black privilege, to be totally honest with you, because her posting this white racist comment right after assaulting Sophie Cunningham on the court is actually black privilege, because she knows the WNBA won't do a single thing of significance about it. And imagine if the roles were reversed. If Sophie made a comment similar to this, then she'd likely never play again. And actually, we just saw this from Coach Sandy Brondello. She got disciplined for making, I believe, a pretty innocent, maybe, offhand comment about talking about Angel Reese and saying that she's a protected species. She was suspended and disciplined. And I think if that's the standard, then Dejanay should be too.
I think Dejanay deserves a suspension for this.
Oh, for
Kravitz.
sure.
I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that she would post that. I mean, it was a sort of a dirty play, was it not?
Okay, so if you take the tweet out of it, and this is where I feel like I can come with a somewhat of a logical perspective on this. I was sitting on the bed on Saturday afternoon, flipping through the channels on YouTube TV, and I saw that the Fever were playing, so I thought, let me check in, see how CC is looking. Let's check in on some WNBA basketball. I turned it on. Mike, I am not kidding you. I'm not saying this to fit the content of the moment. It was the second that clothesline happened. I mean, her arm hit the neck the second I clicked the button. It was insane timing. And the second that I saw it, I went, that's a flagrant 2. She should be kicked out of the game. Also, I know for a fact this is going to become just gasoline to the fire that is WNBA Twitter. All of those thoughts immediately came to my mind, but if I'm judging and assessing the play by itself without knowing any further context, to me it just looked like a play that Carrington saw she had no chance at the block and was trying to stop the basket. We watch enough basketball to know that men or women, this stuff happens all the time. Hard fouls happen all the time in basketball. Not all of them are some statement on current racial affairs in this country. Now,
I understand, but again, that to me that was more than a hard foul. It was like a clothesline to me. It was like she clothesline tackled her.
I mean, if there was no attempt at a
because it was Sophie. I do think it was because it was Sophie Cunningham. I do.
And look, I would have disagreed with you, but then Dejanay went on Twitter with all caps, or it was Threads. I didn't even know anybody was using Threads, but she went on Threads and wrote all caps white privilege. So clearly she's got an issue with the racial side of this and the societal conversation that is going on surrounding Kofi Cunningham and Sophie Cunningham and her statements. So clearly this was an issue. I don't know. I'm not inside of Carrington's head. I can't say for sure whether or not there was intent in her play, but I do know that she should be suspended. We can't ask that players be protected by cyber bullies and then allow a player to be a cyber bully. Not only did she tweet white privilege, she tagged the Fever. So she was not only saying white privilege, she says, hey, I want to make sure you see that I wrote this online. She deserves to be suspended. The other weird part of this, Mike, is that Stephanie White, who's the head coach of the Indiana Fever, is so strange in the way that she seemingly goes out of her way multiple times this season to support the opposing players that commit hard fouls on her players. She did the same thing with Alyssa Thomas, who was the player who put her fist on the throat of Caitlin Clark. It's very strange. Listen to Stephanie White after the game when she was asked about the hard foul.
One of the things about Nay is that she's going to play her butt off, man. She's going to compete. Nobody's going to go walking in for a layup. And so I don't oppose the hard foul. But I also don't think that she intentionally went for the net.
It's like she's going out of her way to support these other players. Multiple instances where she doesn't go to bat for her. It's your team. You shouldn't be objective.
I don't recall that on the Caitlin Clark. I think she was pretty strong in defending Caitlin Clark on the fist to the throat. If I recall, she made a pretty big deal about that was a dirty play. I'm pretty sure about that.
I'm just.
But anyway,
yeah. Go ahead.
I think this is a boon for the WNBA. I think this is a boon. I do. Fox News regularly discussing the WNBA. You've got race, you've got gender, you've got politics, you've got transgender sports, you've got heroes, you've got villains, you've got all of this, and people actually are paying attention. People wouldn't have even known who Sophie Cunningham was if not for this comment. Now at least people know the names of Angel Reese. We know the names of WNBA players because of all of the controversy.
I could not disagree with you more on this. I get that attention. I get that attention is good. It's good for 15 minutes of fame, but this is not good for league sustainability. I think the coverage of this league is so disappointing. I get that there are racial issues that still exist in this country, Mike, but sports have always been and should always be the place that we go to get away from the prevalence of racism. It's about teamwork. It's about competition. I want to play with you if you're good. I want to beat you if you're on the other team. Race is playing way too big of a role in the conversation, and we can't just point to the media. This isn't just a media thing. I've tried doing that, but you can't. It's on the players as well. The media's making it racial. The players are making it racial. This is not good for the longevity of the league.
Travis, any kind of exposure is better than obscurity, which is what the WNBA has been for its existence. At least they're being talked about. That's better than being obscure.
Let us know what you think. Text in 50857. You can also hit us up in the Rage Cage. Just tap that microphone icon and let it fly. More Game On, your favorite afternoon show, returns right after this.
9 The Game. Enough of this rat poison. Let the coaches do the talking. It's time for Coach Speak. Now back to Game On with Bianchi and Kravitz.
My God.
It's time for our daily source of inspiration and motivation. It's a Monday, so you need it now more than ever. So I got a good one for you. This is brought to you by professional wrestling's best and most welcoming training center out there for kids and adults alike, House of Champions, hosting a back-to-school event. It's back-to-school day today for a lot of people around Central Florida and across Florida in general. Open house Saturday, August 29th, so we're 19 days away from that. It's a free event. They have interactive games, special surprise guests, and a lounge for the parents. Head to thehocpro.com. Go and check them out. Building confidence, building champions, which is what we're going to do right here with our motivational quote. And today's quote, Mike, is more of a philosophy than it is a direct quote. It's birthed off of this thought that I read. This one does come from the Daily Coach newsletter, which was really the brainchild of the genesis of this whole segment was that newsletter that Jamal Mosley would subscribe to, so I subscribed to it as well. Doors do shut, windows do close. That's the quote, but this is the thought behind that. Time changes us, energy changes, and circumstances change. Some opportunities disappear. That makes the open doors more important, given that we don't have forever to make the call, to take the trip, to begin the work, or to tell someone what they mean to us. The existence of a closing door is sometimes the best reason to walk through one right now.
Yeah, I like it. Take advantage of situations when they happen, right?
Yeah. Don't just assume that whatever circumstance you're in is going to last forever. So if there's something that you want to take advantage of, if there's a chance that you want to take, if there's something that you need to get off your chest, do it now, because you never know when that window is going to close. Windows don't stay open forever. That is the general idea here. It is a Meltdown Mood Check Monday. We want to know what's grinding your gears.
You know what really grinds my gears?
Text in 50857, or you can hit us up in the Rage Cage. Mike, nothing introduces more rage than gym activity gone wrong. And I have signed up to a new gym. I realized during the summer that I wasn't able to get to the gymnasium as much as I did months ago. So I canceled my Planet Fitness membership. I liked Planet Fitness. It had everything I needed. It was a decent price point, decent drive from the house. It had all of those things. But right across the street was a Crunch Fitness. And I said to myself during the summer that when I get back on a normal schedule where I'm not hanging out with my son in the morning and then I got to dive right into prep, and I just wasn't able. I would still go on bike rides just to stay somewhat fit because it's important for the physical and mental health of it all. But I wasn't able to spend time in the gym. So I haven't gone to the gym in like 2 months. And so today, my son is in first grade for the first time. First day of school, I said, I'm going to go sign up for the gym, but I'm going to go to the one across the street from Planet Fitness. I'm going to Crunch. And Crunch, much more intense, Mike. Not as laid back. Planet Fitness, you can go in, tell them that you want to sign up. They're like, whatever, dude, scan your phone, leave me alone. At Crunch Fitness, they're going like full bore sales. They're trying to get you to sign up for the training. They're trying to pitch you on the premium package where you can get the infrared sauna and all this stuff. So it was a little much for me. I just wanted to go in and work out. Finally get through the whole sales pitch from the person at the front, and I sign up, and I go upstairs. This was not something I dealt with at Planet Fitness. There were 3 people with tripods set up next to the workout equipment. Mike, this goes another. I haven't been to a gym that has this sort of customer. Planet Fitness, people are just sort of like rolling themselves into the gym. Crunch Fitness, like, these people are fit. And a couple of these folks, not just on their phones, Mike, they are filming themselves like they're Steven freaking Spielberg. It was crazy. Right. I cannot believe this is happening out there.
Yeah. Oh, I've been a member of Crutch Fitness, and yeah, I experienced the same thing. The only reason that I went to Crunch was they had a steam room. This was the only gym I could find with a steam room. All right, they actually had a steam room. So, but yeah, Crunch is it's almost a little too upscale, if you ask me.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I mean, obviously, if they, if they want us to say nice things, we'll do that. But I agree. It's like it's a little bit. It is a little bit uppity, but I'm going to give it a shot for at least 3 months, see how it goes, and then maybe I'll go back. But what's up with you?
So did you sign up for the? I've always wondered what's the difference between an infrared sauna and the regular sauna. I
got to be honest, I was not paying attention when she was explaining it. I think she said it was good for your skin, but I don't care.
Okay. What grinds my gears is incompetence. All right. So I signed up with AT&T when I moved into my new home, AT&T Wireless, all right? Fiber optics is going to be great internet. And the internet's been fine. But they bury the line, all right? They buried the line wrong, all right? So then I called and complained because the line was like coming out. They buried it. It was like being exposed. And I'm like, somebody's going to mow this over, all right? So they came out. They said, oh, we put the third-party company put it wrong. So we're going to have to reroute the line. So they came out today to reroute the line, all right? And they had to go under my driveway. They had some contraption that shot the line underneath the driveway. And right where they started to dig, there's a sprinkler head right there. There's a sprinkler head right there. You would think that they would say, hey, there might be an irrigation line there where the sprinkler head is. No, they chopped right through the irrigation line, and boom. So now they break my sprinkler system, all right? And I'm like, there's a sprinkler head right there. Why did you dig right through it? And they didn't communicate very well. Let me just say that, okay? So then they had to go to Home Depot, find some fitting to try to fix the irrigation line. And I even told them, because I was doing radio show prep, all right? I'm doing the show from home today. I was doing radio show prep. I even told them, I want to test this before you guys leave, okay? So sure enough, they replaced the line, and then they hightail it out of there before I can even get out there to test the line. So now I've got some buried line the irrigation that I don't know if it works or not. And
now every time I go and check my email, my sprinklers go off. What the hell's going on around here?
It's unbelievable, the incompetence.
Text in.
Workers.
We had a whole weekend of things that you can be frustrated about. Text in 50857. Let it off of your chest. 3 o'clock hour continues in a moment. We've got champs and chumps coming up at the top of the 4 o'clock hour as well. More opportunities for you to enter our Gameheads Fantasy Football Draft. We'll key you in on that next.
Hard Rock.
Welcome back to Game On across the Sunshine State, Orlando, Jacksonville, Tallahassee, the only statewide sports talk afternoon show in the States. Hit us up on the iHeart Radio Talkback. We call that the Rage Cage. You can text in as well, 50857. Let your voice be heard, because today, Mike, best meltdown of the day. I want almost tears. You're so mad you're crying. We'll play that at the end of the show. It can be about whatever topic you're fired up about today. And we will enter you into either League Bianchi or League Kravitz for our draft on August 27th, which, by the way, Mike, I do have an official location for us. That would be Tuffy's Music Box in downtown Sanford. That is the location of this year's Gameheads Fantasy Football Drafts.
Can't wait. Can't wait. Love Toughies.
So that's where we'll be at, Tuffy's in Sanford. That coming up on August 27th. You can text in 50857 to be involved in the conversation. But if you want entry into the league today, we're looking for the best meltdown of the day on the iHeartRadio Talkback. On the text line at 50857, you are correct, Mike. This is manufactured drama. And talking about the WNBA and our lead story today of, what's her name again? Dejanay Carrington, who clotheslined Sophie Cunningham, and then immediately after wrote on Threads, white privilege in all caps. I don't think this is manufactured, though. I think that this is legitimate. We have players in the league. Hard fouls are always discussed in basketball, but then when those hard fouls are followed up with the sort of commentary that Carrington had on social media, that part is not manufactured.
I do think it's manufactured because I agree with Sophie Cunningham. I think Carrington was put the white privilege just to get attention. So in that respect, it's manufactured. She's trying to get attention, therefore it's manufactured. She 30 really believe it's white privilege. She probably just put that out there because she knew in the WNBA that's gonna get Fox News talking about it.
Well, that's unfortunate. I don't think anything that falls into the hands of CNN and Fox News, I don't think the world is better for it. So I wish that all of this would stop and go away. Back with more Game On shortly. We'll pause for a moment. Let the talented folks at Fox Sports Radio get you all caught up with the latest and greatest in sports. Champs and Chumps on the way. This is where the best and the brightest shine. Champs and Chumps will start with the positive today. We've been so negative on the show. He's so upset after a weekend. Back at work with all of you.
Meltdown Mood Check Monday. You're asking people to be negative.
I know. Well, yeah. It's because it's more entertaining, Mike. You know what else makes me upset? Bugs. Zap them with Burn Pest Control. Family owned and operated with over 30 years of experience in the termite and pest control industry. Contact Joe directly, 321-297-7985, or go to burnpest.com. I'm going to start with a champ for Don Nelson. 1,335 career wins, second all-time as an NBA coach. He was instrumental in drafting Dirk Nowitzki to the Mavs. He was the first head coach in the NBA for Steph Curry. The guy won 5 titles as a player, one of the all-time greats in the sport at either coach or players, just in terms of all-time figures and innovators, pioneers of the sport of professional basketball. And he was a general manager on top of it. The guy just touched so many lives, so much of the game of basketball that we know, and he passed away at the age of 86. So a posthumous champ for Don Nelson.
Nelly. I love Nelly as well. I'm so old. I sort of remember when I was a kid, Nelly as a player. I think I remember Nelly as a player for the Celtics.
Yeah,
it
played
was
for the Celtics.
Tail end. Yeah, it was at the tail end. Did he wear number 19? Did Nelly wear number 19?
Let's find out right now. Celtics.
Because I remember Don
Wow,
Nelson.
Mike.
At the free.
What a pull.
Was he 19?
Yeah, he was.
He was?
Yeah.
I have this vision. I can't remember what happened yesterday, but I have this vision from when I was, 8 years, 7, 6, of Nelly at the foul line shooting a free throw. And he had a weird way of shooting free throws, I think, if I recall right.
He had a nice little lefty stroke. Oh, yeah.
Did he have
He would
push it, sort of?
No, never mind. I was looking at it backwards. No, he's righty. But yeah, you're right. He would shoot with one hand at the free throw line.
That's what it was. Yeah, he'd sort of have the ball in the palm of his hand, one hand, and he'd push it up there. Number 19. I remember that from when I was a kid.
All right, now next question, Mike. What did you have for lunch yesterday?
I have no idea.
And thus is the life of an aging sports fan. What you got, Mike?
Right. Champ, we talk so much about the WNBA and is Caitlin Clark treated fairly, the transgender controversy, race, sex, all of this stuff we talk about. How about a champ to an actual something that happened on the court in the WNBA last night when Minnesota Lynx guard Kayla McBride, she wanted to give the hometown fans a show, and she delivered a show of shows last night. She made 10 three-pointers, which set the WNBA record for three-pointers in the game. In fact, here was the final one.
McBride. A new WNBA three-point record. 10 from the outside in one game.
10 of 14 from behind the arc, career high 43 points. The previous record of 9 three-pointers in a game had been done 8 previous times, including twice this season, and she breaks the record. So there you have it. We're discussing something in the WNBA that has nothing to do with race or sex.
All right, look at us. I think our Marconi is in the mail. I love this. That is that is part of the irony in the Fever Sky Saturday clothesline debate. I told you earlier that I happened to turn on the game the moment the clothesline happened and saw all of the fallout thereafter. I watched the rest of the game. It was a fantastic basketball game. I watched a little bit of the Lynx yesterday. They are so much fun to watch. This team right now, the Minnesota Lynx, has an MVP level player in Nafisa Collier. They have who is likely to win the MVP this year in Olivia Miles. They are minus 105 to win the championship. Now, we're not even into the playoffs yet. Those are shorter odds than the Dodgers to win the World Series, to put it into perspective. That's how good this team is. And I'm glad that we were able to highlight some of that.
Well, hopefully hopefully they'll be playing the Indiana Fever in the finals, so people will watch.
Yes, well said. Speaking of baseball, I'm going to give one to Jacob Wilson of the wherever they play athletics. No mistakes for a long time now, Mike. How impressive is this? Jacob Wilson set an MLB record for his position at shortstop, playing his 111th consecutive game without an error. This now surpasses Orioles shortstop Mike Bordick, who went 110 games in 2002. 111 games errorless. That is a long time to go without a bobbled baseball, an overthrow at first base, nothing. No errors for 111 games. I wish that I could model that in my personal life. Do you think you could ever go 111 days without a mistake?
I wish I could go like 11 days without making a mistake on the radio. Getting a name wrong, mispronouncing a name. Yeah, absolutely.
11 days. We'd be lucky if we made it 11 minutes.
Right.
And then I'll round out my champs because I'm going to stay in the baseball world. Got to give a champ to the Rays. Another sweep for them. They swept the Seattle Mariners. They're up to 71 wins now, right up there with the Braves, the Brewers, and the Dodgers. They are the best, least talked about team, not only in baseball, in all of sports. And all they do is win. No cool-off period throughout the course of the season. This team is like a death by 1,000 cuts, even though they have the best record in the American League, fourth best run differential in the American League. Basically, if you are close, if you're in a tight game with the Rays, you are losing that game. That is their identity. They've been doing it all year. Hat tip to Tampa.
How about a champ for the Lake Mary Little League softball team? No, they didn't win the Little League World Series. They had a disappointing loss to North Carolina in the semifinals, but they came back, they bounced back with a win in the consolation game. So they are the third best team in the entire country in Little League softball. Don't hang your head, girls, just because you didn't win the championship. You still did your community proud. You did Central Florida proud. So you get a champ for finishing third in the Little League World Series.
Yeah,
so good for them. And also, Kravitz, one last champ. I don't know if we're going to talk about this the rest of the week, but today, for the most part, throughout Central Florida, except throughout the state of Florida, I believe, it's the first day of school. How about a champ for the first day of school? I loved the first day of school when I was a kid.
Yep.
The new notebook, the new Converse All-Star Chuck Taylors you'd wear, your new clothes, just the smell. You'd open that notebook and the smell of that new notebook paper and the little pen pouch. Oh, loved the first day of school. And then you got to see the girls again. When you got to high school, there was nothing like the first day of school to see what girls got hotter over the summer. Absolutely.
Oh, is that Becky? What is that?
Yeah. Becky, Sheila, Tracy, they all look good.
I can't wait to find out how my son's first day of school was. First grade, a little bit different than what you're talking about, but all of the newness of it, the sharpened pencils. You're never more energetic and nervous than you are on that first day of school, trying to figure out where everything is, who you're gonna hang out with, what you're, all of that. It's an energy that is hard to reproduce as you get older. Really cool. Champ to everybody who started out there today. We've got the other end of the equation coming up around the bend. Up next, we keep it rolling here on Game On with our biggest chumps from the weekend. That is next.
overall,
For champ or chump?
which is pretty good. My God.
We handed out our chumps in the last segment, or our champs in the last segment. Now it's time to hand out our chumps. You can as well. We want your best meltdown on the iHeartRadio talkback. Just tap that microphone icon at the top of the iHeartRadio app and rant and rave towards us. The best meltdown of the day will not only be played at the end of the show, but we will also grant you entry into the highly prestigious League Kravitz or League Bianchi. We are drafting at Tuffy's Music Box in Sanford coming up on August 27th. We'll start the draft at 6:30 p.m. Saw some questions on the text line about a start time. We'll go off the air at 6, do the show from there, and then by 6:30, you are on the clock.
Little fantasy football draft. Last year's draft was fun.
Oh, we had a blast. Absolute blast. Love it. I've ordered the stickers because that is a key component to all of this. Nothing like going up there with the sticker shock of you took who? You got my handcuff and all of that fun stuff. All right, let's go to our champs or our chumps. The Bills' new stadium, they opened up their new one over the weekend. They allowed their fans to come and watch some scrimmage, I guess, before the preseason starts. They built a stadium for $2.1 billion, which is the going rate these days. You would expect near perfection if you're going to spend that much on a stadium. And things did not exactly go well, according to some of the folks in attendance. You did have a canopy feature. It rained at one point during the scrimmage, and fans, especially those that were in the upper deck area, remained dry because of the canopy feature on the stadium. So those fans were happy. But there are numerous seats throughout the stadium that are obstructed by steps and railings. It was just really poor design. If you have not seen this reaction yet, go and find it online. But some people took pictures from their seats where there's just a giant railing in front of their face, multiple seats in a section for a $2.1 billion state-of-the-art NFL stadium. You'd think they'd be able to avoid some of this stuff.
Wow. Yeah. I
I want to give a chump. I gave a champ to the first day of school. I want to give a retroactive chump to me, Kravitz. First day of school, when I was in kindergarten, I went to Lake Forest Elementary School, all right? And it was a little neighborhood elementary school, which was, within walking distance from our house. So I did not want to go to the first day of kindergarten. I did not want to be there. I did not want to go to school, didn't want to leave mommy, okay? So I pitched a fit. I was kicking and screaming and crying when they tried to drop me off at kindergarten. So the kindergarten teacher, Miss Bird, I still remember her name. I remember that as well. Miss Bird said, leave him with me. You guys go. He'll be fine. So I wasn't fine, Kravitz. You know what I did? I escaped kindergarten, and I was fast even back then. I became the fastest white man in Putnam County, but I was fast even as a kindergartner. I bolted out of that classroom, and I ran my ass all the way home, Kravitz. And they did not catch me. Yeah. So, and then, of course, they took me back to kindergarten.
Was this just a roundabout way of you bragging about your speed as a youngster once again?
No. I just remember that story about the first day of school in kindergarten, and I ran. It's still a family story. People talk. Hey, you remember when little Mikey escaped kindergarten, ran home? Yeah.
It's like Barry Sanders running out of that place.
My real chump, though, goes to the political process and the legislative process in our country. So this Protect College Sports Act that we've been talking about, they've been trying to get through the Senate. It failed to reach a vote during an all-night pre-recess session in the Senate early Saturday. So the bill did not make it through the Senate, but it was never voted on, but it does have a spot on the agenda when the Senate reconvenes. I guess they're taking off for a few weeks. So they're going to reconvene in September, and they're going to revisit this bill, the Protect College Sports Act, that's supposed to save college sports. Again, I'm reading all of this stuff about it, and as the bill got closer to vote, there were all of these different amendments that were added to it that really had nothing to do with the bill itself. And if you haven't read it, go read it, because it is a study in what is wrong with our political process. So there were a couple of Republican senators who said, hey, this bill cannot be passed unless it mentions transgender athletes not being allowed to participate in college sports, which isn't what this bill is about. This bill isn't about transgender athletes. It's about, like, NIL and all of this other stuff. It's not about transgender athletes. And then the Congressional Black Caucus in the AFL-CIO, they're saying, this bill cannot be passed unless there's something about the voting rights in this bill. What in the hell do voting rights have to do with collegiate sports? And it's like, this is our political process right here.
This is
you've got one. It's so frustrating.
This is why, ideally, we keep politics out of sports. But I think more importantly than that, we keep sports out of politics. Let's keep the sports out of the politicians' hands as much as we can. I know it doesn't seem possible with the way that college athletics is governed right now, but that would be ideal if we could do that. I'm glad that you brought that up, because I have a similar gripe. My chump goes to Clay Travis, who I used to listen to all the time. I thought that before it became so obvious how everybody aligned politically, and you would just listen to folks talk sports. Like Colin Cowherd still does a pretty good job of this. I honestly don't know where he votes, and good. I don't care. He's a sports talk host.
Right.
Clay Travis, I thought, was one of the best national sports talk radio hosts out there. And then right around the time of the pandemic and the George Floyd protests, when it became much more advantageous to media personalities to align themselves with the left or the right, knowing that they could upset an audience, they could attract new followers. He's perhaps the best example of somebody who took advantage of that. And while he is very popular and has a lot of fans, I think it ruined him as a sports talk radio host, because he was no longer objective. Everything came with an angle. And that's the issue that I have with watching any sort of political TV, when I feel like you're always going to present the angle that aligns with the people that are feverishly watching your product. I no longer can trust the content that you're delivering to me. And he is perhaps the number one all-time media hypocrite, because part of the fame that he found himself swimming in after becoming politically aligned with the right as a sports talk host was his claim that athletes need to stay out of politics, that politics and sports don't mix. He made a career out of ripping ESPN for being way too left-leaning, the stick-to-sports king. That's what this guy was. He is now, I don't know if you saw this latest story, he is starting his own sports media network. It's called Sport and State, covering sports and politics. He not only is a hypocrite in that he does it all the time, he's actually starting a company, a network that now covers sports in that way. You cannot be a stick to sports guy when you start a sports and politics network. I get he wants to cash in on it, but this is hypocrisy at the highest level.
Kravitz, you're absolutely right, first of all. But you failed to mention the most hypocritical part of the Clay Travis rise to fame. Clay Travis used to be a staunch Democrat. He supported Barack Obama. He was on Al Gore. He volunteered on Al Gore's campaign back in the day.
I didn't even know that.
And then he realized that there was a lot of money being a conservative talk radio host, like Rush Limbaugh. He saw Rush Limbaugh, and he said, I could do that. I'm a smart guy. I'm a lawyer. I think he's got a law degree. And he pivoted. He pivoted to being a left-wing, liberal to a right-wing talk radio host, and boom, he's a multimillionaire as a result, who's starting his own sports media network, as you just said.
And you know what? And there will be so many people, millions of people that don't care about any of that. They're just going to go sprinting to the network because it aligns with their beliefs and turn their brain off. That is our Chump segment. Up next, Monday Mic'd Up. We'll hear from the movers and shakers coming up in just a bit. Don't go anywhere.
My God.
Mic'd Up brought to you by one of my favorite places, Adventure Boat Share. I've told you about it many times. It's unlimited, hassle-free boating. You don't have to own a boat. You pay one monthly fee. You can go boating anytime you want. You just make a reservation. Boat's waiting for you when you get to the dock. You go boating, drop it off, boom. No muss, no fuss. Adventure Boat Share. Check them out at adventureboatshare.com. And don't forget to tell them the Bulldog sent you. They might even make you a deal. All right, we were just talking about Clay Travis and, you know, what a sellout he really is. Clay Travis, he was on his show or his podcast the other day, and here's what he had to say about starting a WNBA team.
I've got two aggressive moves that I am undertaking here, and I'm 100% serious about this, and I'm going to share both of them with you. First of all, I will buy a WNBA expansion franchise as the primary owner of that franchise. I will bring them to my hometown where I do this show from, Nashville, Tennessee. I will pledge that 100% of my team will be trans. That will be men pretending to be women. Our entire coaching staff will be trans. That is men pretending to be women. We will not lose a single game. There are probably some games, Buck, where we will not even give up a single point. I will call this team the Nashville Balls, and I will become a dynastic sports owner.
There you have it. All right, so obviously that's buffoonery, Kravitz, as a shot doctor would say. That's a bunch of buffoonery. But I will say this. The WNBA brings this sort of mockery on itself by sort of, you know, trying to walk the fine line in the transgender debate. I mean, why don't they just come right out and say, no, transgenders are not allowed to play in our league, like every other sports entity essentially has done. But the WNBA is, they're being a little wimpy about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess you could word it that way. I think, first of all, I mean, he says I'm being serious. Obviously, he wasn't. Men pretending to be women, that's not what transgender is. That would be cross-dressing. Right. So, strike one. But the WNBA just wants to come out. I mean, they should have already formulated this, but they need to come out with a better way to word the sensitivity that they are trying to portray. And that is what they have not been able to figure out. Part of the issue with all of this is that with all of this attack on transgender sports rights is that so much of it comes with this vocalization of making a sector of people feel unwelcomed. And I think the WNBA is trying to sort of skate that fine line of we don't want to come across offensive, but also we don't want to allow that. And they need to figure out how to word that best.
Right. All right, let's go to Hall of Fame induction ceremonies, Pro Football Hall of Fame this weekend. Adam Vinatieri, one of the greatest kickers of all time, inducted into the Hall of Fame. Here's some of his induction speech.
Unfortunately, Bill couldn't make it here today. There's a lot going on at UNC right now. He may be on a recruiting trip right now looking for the next Lawrence Taylor. I thought it was because training camp had already started. But in truth, it's because he's judging his girlfriend's cheerleading competition. I was lucky enough to play with the greatest quarterback in Patriot history. Unfortunately, he was unable to make it here today. Drew Bledsoe. I had a few more Tom Brady jokes, but I was afraid that he'd run up on the stage and maybe give me a Will Smith like he did to Logan Paul last month. Pat McAfee's here in the crowd today. Great to see you, brother. The only person who enjoyed holding my balls more than my wife.
Pat McAfee was the punter, right?
Yes, he was for the Indianapolis Colts. So he would, he'd set things up for Adam Vinatieri.
He was the holder. I get it. He was the holder. I get it.
Oh, you thought he was talking about his. You thought.
No, I thought it I thought maybe he was like, center or something. You know how the quarterback puts his hand.
I got it.
Yeah. Anyway, those jokes were bad. How bad were those jokes?
Could you imagine getting inducted into the Hall of Fame and you're like, I'm going to turn this into Comedy Hour? That's an interesting choice from Adam Vinatieri.
Well, he is a kicker.
This is why they don't let kickers
Dan
in.
Campbell. Right. Yeah. Who was the idiot kicker? Who was Peyton Manning's idiot kicker?
Oh, Vanderjack.
Yeah. Kyle, is it Kyle Vanderjack? Anyway,
I forget his first name.
Not important. All right, Detroit Lions coach Dan Campbell on Jahmyr Gibbs and what the plans are for him this season.
I think that'll always be there, but I mean, we're going to push him. We're going to push him because we think this kid can be one of the best, if not the best. So we're going to push him to get there. We're going to see what he's got now. I'm glad we got Pacheco, and he's going to very much be a part of what we have. But we need to see where we can take Gibbs now. We've only scratched the surface of him.
Oh man, number 1 fantasy pick. There's no doubt about it. After hearing that clip, Kravitz.
No. Kevin Stefanski would have to come out and say we're playing Bijan Robinson at quarterback for me to draft Bijan over Jahmyr Gibbs after a statement like that. Gibbs was already as good as it gets in terms of fantasy football and the stats that he produces. Now they're going to give him more work at the goal line. A guy that had 18 total touchdowns last year actually has touchdown upside, and his coach is talking about him like that. You got to slam the keys on Jahmyr Gibbs if you have the number 1 pick.
Absolutely. Speaking of great running backs, new Dolphins head coach Jeff Hafley talking about his running back Devon Achane and what a nightmare he was when Hafley was the D coordinator with the Packers.
I remember it really well. It was 2 years ago when we were getting ready to play the Dolphins when I was in Green Bay, and I had not been exposed to him, and I said, this is a guy that's not talked enough about in the NFL, and I don't understand why, and he's making me lose sleep, and I think he's the most dynamic player on the team. So it's the first time, and just in my opinion, and I think I said it, if you go back and listen to my media, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I even made a statement like, this guy should be talked about a lot more than he is because he's that good, and he should be considered right now along with the best backs in the NFL.
There it is, Devon Achane, number 1 fantasy football draft pick, right? He's just supplanted Jahmyr Gibbs after hearing his coach's quote.
Yeah, took no time at all. These are very fluid rankings that Bianchi and I have put together. I am much higher on Devon Achane than I think the consensus public is in fantasy football. He's going as like a mid to late round 2 pick. I don't know why, other than the fact that he's on a really bad team. But who else are they giving the ball to? Jeff Hafley clearly believes as well. So I'm all in on both of those guys. If I was to start my team with Jahmyr Gibbs and Devon Achane, I'd be a very happy man for the rest of the draft.
All right, let's end it real quick with Deion Sanders at the University of Colorado's Media Day the other day.
I don't feel pressure. You know what pressure is? As a single mama, trying to make ends meet. There ain't no man in the house. And she got to be the mother, the father, the provider, the disciplinarian, and everything. This is football. I'm really good at this. I can play this. I can coach this. I can do this. And you know, if you don't believe, you don't believe. God bless you. I need that. I like that. You put me in my comfort zone there. I'd rather be booed than clapped for, applauded. Because if you start clapping too much, I'm not going to trust you.
It's a great quote, but Colorado is being picked 15th in the Big 12 by the media. I wonder if this could be Deion's last year at Colorado.
Ironic that he would say that pressure is a single mom trying to feed her kids. I think that might be Deion Sanders' next path. Is he's perhaps going to be a single mom sooner than he's the Colorado Buffaloes coach moving forward. We shall see. More Game On coming up. More from the game heads right around the corner. More info on how you can enter League Bianchi and League Kravitz as we have our draft coming up at the end of the month. Back in a bit.
Game on with Bianchi and Kravitz. We'll be right back after this.
One thing I've learned about Trajan Wealth is that it's a company that reflects the values of its founder. Jeff Jr., a proud Marine veteran, built Trajan Wealth around the same principle he learned in the Corps. Simplify, always faithful. At Trajan Wealth, that means always faithful to your financial future. That commitment is one of the reasons I'm a client today. When I met with the team, I got straight talk, not a sales pitch. They're fiduciaries, so their advice is based on what's best for you, not on selling products. That's a refreshing difference. Trajan Wealth's family office brings your investments, taxes, and estate planning together under one roof, giving you one coordinated strategy that's built around your goals and your life. If you've been wondering whether you're truly ready for retirement, or if you're simply if you just want a second opinion, I encourage you to call Trajan Wealth. You'll understand why they've earned my trust. Give them a call at 1-855-TRAJAN1. Tell them Mike Bianchi sent you. That's 1-855-TRAJA1. Or you can visit them at TrajanWealth.com. That's TRAJAN Wealth.com. Advisory services through Trajan Wealth, LLC.
got to go with Bianchi on this one. All press is good press. I was actually tuned in to the game this weekend, and one of the reasons is because it's on regular TV. I wanted to watch baseball, and my Atlanta Braves were playing on ESPN Unlimited. Every other baseball game was on MLB TV. Don't have that. I try to go, ESPN Unlimited because I have Plus. No, that's a separate thing. So good on the NBA or the WNBA. You can actually watch it.
I'm a little worried about Jesse. Sounds like he was in a tornado, I think. Well, hopefully he's still with us.
He was probably riding his bike while he was.
Right. There is always a case to be made for all press is good press, but when all you are receiving is bad press and no good press, and it's divisive press, I think that has changed the game as far as that general sentiment goes. But we'll get back into that in just a bit. Still to come, we've got Bet It or Forget It, and we're checking in on the Miami Dolphins at the top of the hour. Let's pause for a moment. Let the talented folks of Fox Sports Radio get you all caught up with the latest in sports. Back at it. More Game On in 60 seconds.
With the teams that call the state of Florida home, sending you back to the studio. It's Game On with Bianchi and Kravitz.
My God.
This segment brought to you by Gomez Plumbing, celebrating 40 years in business as your trusted plumber. 407-322-0042. You hear the wonderful theme song right there, which means we're getting ready to talk Miami Dolphins football. The Dolphins, the new look Miami Dolphins, hit the field for the first time on Friday. We'll have coverage starting at 6 p.m. here on the Hub, 96.9 The Game, Dolphins Commanders. But more importantly, we need to check in on how camp is going so far for the Miami Dolphins. David Furones covers the Dolphins for the South Florida Sun-Sentinel. He joins us on the hotline now. Staying cool, I hope, David. I don't know what the coverage is like down in South Florida as you cover training camp, but are you just standing there in the sweltering Florida heat?
No, not at all. In fact, they hook us up well. There are stands because a lot of the training camp practices are open to fans, so we can sit there in some not even bleachers. It's those folding stadium-style seats. There's coverage overhead that shields us from the sun, and they have those big fans from the company that's, I don't know if I can say it on the radio, big fans, and then they're circulating a bunch of air. So it's actually, they keep us cool, and I actually am hotter for the 30 minutes where we have some player interviews after camp than the hour and a half, hour 45 of actual drills outside. Oh,
wow. You're living the cushy life. And yes, you can mention the fan company. That's no problem whatsoever. How different is the vibe going from Mike McDaniel to Jeff Hafley, who I've been watching some of his press conferences lately? He has a lot more personality than I originally thought he did when he was hired in that introductory press conference where he was a little stiff, but not necessarily better or worse, David, but how different is the vibe from Mike McDaniel, the way that he communicates with the team, with you guys, from Jeff Hafley?
No, definitely. The key word is him as a communicator. You just feel how direct, how concise he is in his communication. We get the sense of that when we're in the press conference room with him. The clips that have surfaced of him speaking to the team certainly show that, which of course is a little bit the opposite of Mike McDaniel, and how he would kind of work around a lot of things he was saying in the press conference setting, and then you would just feel that, okay, that probably transcends into how he communicates with the team. And then, you start to question, okay, how effectively is his message getting across with the way he communicates. And I always kind of feel like whenever one coach gets fired, it's always whatever that he lacked, then that next coach is going to be a correction of that. Whereas when Mike McDaniel was hired, Brian Flores, he was the coach that was very difficult to work with. He wasn't collaborative with the general manager, the front office. He wanted things his way. He was a bit combative, and Mike McDaniel was far from that. He's a people pleaser and is always going to be easy to work with. And then Mike McDaniel, maybe, but communication wasn't his greatest strength. But you really see that Jeff Hafley has that down packed, and he's just a football guy. He has his players' best interests at heart. And then you mentioned it a little bit that it has surprised me a little bit how he's not just like a straightforward, always meaning business type of football coach too. He has a little bit of that personable side as well that we've seen in some of these press conferences, and has actually surprised us a little bit with his humor. So he's got a little bit of that to him too, but he knows how to get down to business and talk football with his players.
I've seen glowing reviews for Malik Willis out of camp. I always take that with a grain of salt because you're not getting a full pass rush. Guys maybe just put pads on, but does he look the part to you?
I got to tell you, so far so good. He has impressed. And coming from someone I wrote in the weeks between, we had those OTA and minicamp practices, and then before training camp, I was writing that it's going to be a roller coaster ride. That Malik Willis will sometimes wow you with some plays he can make because he's got the combination of the athleticism plus the big arm, but then he'll also just leave you scratching your head with some very questionable decisions. And that was what my take was off of the 6 practices that we watched during OTAs and minicamp. And then training camp, really, he did have one rough day early on. It was the second practice of camp, but it has been hard to really find some blemishes since then, to be honest. He doesn't make the same mistake twice. He's been able to make all the throws, whether it's in the pocket, which, of course, is where he needs to make strides in his game. I think you're seeing that install of the first, second, third time through the playbook and then installing everything back in the offseason program, that now coming together where he's done it a few times, and he's not repeating those mistakes that he made early on. So throws in the pocket, decision-making, some accuracy, able to get off platform and throw off balance, run with the football when he's been called upon. That's sort of something they've opened up to a little bit more, which we know he can just do that at a moment's notice. They've been working more on the other stuff, quarterbacking, and considering that he doesn't have that many great weapons, if you just look at the depth chart, and they're trying to build and develop that receiving core right now with some youngsters, he's hit the ground running and looks good so far.
David, speaking of that, who has anybody emerged at wide receiver? Anybody looked really good in training camp? Any of the rookies? What are you seeing there?
I'll tell you, the one who's standing out is the rookie third-round pick that they grabbed out of Texas Tech, Caleb Douglas, who a lot of people wondered why he was the pick there. Maybe felt like it was a reach considering some of the other wide receivers that were available at that spot. He was the first wide receiver they took, a position where you knew they needed something after trading Jalen Waddle, and obviously Tyreek Hill. It was his time. He had to be cut, and actually for Tyreek, I don't even know how close he is to actually being able to practice and play at this stage after that gruesome injury he had. But Caleb Douglas at 6'4" with the long arms and the route tree that he has shown during camp, able to catch balls at different depths on the field. He's been standing out. And then you hope that the other third-round wide receiver that they picked up, Chris Bell, out of Louisville, who had a great game when he came down to Hard Rock Stadium with the Cardinals against the Miami Hurricanes. his final season. He's still working back from that ACL tear from last November at the end of his college career. So they're working him back, and he's getting closer and closer. So he's one that I have high hopes for. But what I've seen so far is definitely Caleb Douglas standing out with Jalen Tolbert, the free agent they picked up from the Dallas Cowboys. He had a big OTA minicamp period where he was appearing to be that number one target, but it slowed down for him a little bit in camp, and Caleb Douglas has really risen since then.
David, how's the media framing this season? Is this a, in your opinion, is this like a necessary tank year to, to eat that dead cap money and then see what happens in a year or two?
Yeah, well, the way I'm looking at it, I'm not judging this season for the Dolphins with wins and losses. I want to see if John Eric Sullivan, the new GM, if Coach Jeff Hafley, if they're establishing the right culture, which they're trying to do from the players they've extended this offseason in Devon Achane, Jordan Brooks, Aaron Brewer, both great players at their position, or all three, I should say, great players at their position, but also guys who can set the right example, who are leaders, potential captains for this team. So among the players that Sullivan has inherited, he's chosen those guys as he constantly uses the words pillars for what he wants them to be as building blocks for the franchise going forward. And then it's going to be about stacking a few draft classes, and of course you're eating up all the dead cap this year, so it's a very difficult scenario to win in the NFL when you're taking on $179+ million of dead cap money from the trades, the releases, essentially for the most part erasing the tenure of Chris Greer, who preceded John Eric Sullivan. So I'm not going to be judging them on whether they win. Does Hafley's message continue to reach this team even if they're dealing with adversity, if they're losing a bunch of games deep into the season? Are they developing their young talent after they brought in 13 players as rookies in the draft? So those are the things I want to see. And then do you just have something going forward? Obviously, you have to judge Malik Willis as well. But do you just have something going forward so that then you can finally put together your first real free agency class in 2027 and then stack a second draft class to that group, and now you might have something going forward. It would only be a bonus if the Dolphins actually win more games than expected in 2026.
It's a nameless, faceless group for the most part, and we'll see how they perform. We'll get an initial look coming up on Friday in the preseason. David Furones covers the Dolphins for the Sun Sentinel. Appreciate the time and the insight. Stay cool down there, my friend.
Absolutely. Good to be on with you guys. Thanks.
Coming up next, the WNBA has done it again, gobbling up the headlines for all the wrong reasons. That is on the way next.